Cormac McCarthy published Blood Meridian in 1985, and over the course of 7 years, he sold only 1,883 copies. And if we calculate the royalty rates, that means over the course of 7 years, he made $941 from writing one of the greatest novels of all time. That is $2,652 in 2023. And this is one of my favorite numbers in Cormac McCarthy scholarship because Cormac never gave up. He never sold that many books. He started selling 4,000 books with The Orchard Keeper, and he continuously sold less and less books, even though his books got better and better. And it wasn't until 1992 when he published All the Pretty Horses, 200,000 copies in 6 months, that he started to get the recognition that he deserved. But how many of us have that endurance to spend tens of thousands of hours writing, dissolving 2 of our marriages, leaving our family and friend group behind to pursue writing, all so that we could sell 1,800 copies? This video will get more than 1,800 views. And I get emails at least once a day, if not closer to 3 times a day, from people who ask me to review or read their book, even though I say I don't have time for that. And I always want to say, why don't you just spend more time getting better? Every single book that someone has sent me has been some hot trash. However, I know that if you keep releasing books decade after decade that are good, The Orchard Keeper, Cormac's first novel he published at age, I think, 29, is better than 99% of books published today. If you keep publishing, you will have a break. You maybe won't have a big break like Cormac and start selling a bunch of books and have 5 going on 6 movies adapted from your work. But you can't tell me one author that's even 60% as good as Cormac McCarthy, even 40% as good, who isn't making a living as a full-time novelist right now. And people reject this all the time because that's just a built-in. There are literary agents in the world whose job it is to sell your book, to make money for you because they get a cut of it. They get sometimes up to 10 to 20% of your book deal for hooking you up. They are trained in sales, marketing, and the publishing industry in general. And there are thousands of them. And so if you continuously maybe don't find a good agent or someone doesn't understand your work, if you keep writing enough, and once again, it's good enough, there will be an agent that's going to love your work and they are going to pitch it to a publishing house who is going to give you a decent to very good deal. And once that momentum gets going, if you continue to write very good works, eventually you will find your break. Let's say that All the Pretty Horses never blew up. Cormac, sold 5,000 copies for the whole Border trilogy. Eventually, No Country for Old Men, The Road, and even The Past would have gained momentum and been picked up probably by the movie industry. Cormac had already had The Gardener's Son produced into a television show back, I think, in the 1990s. He had won many awards and received grants along the way, and those would have led. And so what we can learn from Cormac is perseverance. He continued doing him no matter what the consequence. And if you look at what he did after Blood Meridian, the biggest failure of his life, he spent 10 years with a novel that he had to know was fire, and it made him $900. And after Blood Meridian, he starts working on Whales and Men, which is probably his most bizarre screenplay and one of his most bizarre works in general. And if he would have released that or gotten that turned into a movie, that would have flopped even harder than Blood Meridian. And we can have a debate on if McCarthy kind of started to write more accessible novels for money, fame, or whatever with the Border trilogy, Country for Old Men and The Road. He has the ability to do that. Most people, there are writers out there who can write a very similar dystopian novel as The Road or thriller like No Country for Old Men, but they suck at sentence structure and they can't add the nice prose lines, the settings, and the crazy symbolic scenes within that. And that's what differentiates McCarthy. Even when he tones it down and kind of goes a little bit easier, he still has the ability to turn it up. And most people don't have the ability. And even better, McCarthy has the open-mindedness to do that. There are a lot of minimalists out there don't want to become minimal, but that's something that writers have done all throughout time. That's what the modernists did. You look at the poetry from the late 1800s, even like Walt Whitman, Browning, very verbose and epic style, but the modernists tightened it up and went back to even writing haikus. But the modernist exploration of those minimalist states, for instance, Rilke, helped them eventually, as they got older and more experienced, get back into maximalism. Rilke, at the start of his career, was much more expansive with it. Then after he studied with Rodin and whatnot, he kind of minimized a little bit. But then with Sonnets to Orpheus and the Duino Elegies, he expands again and is considered one of the greatest poetic masterpieces of all time. And if McCarthy lived longer and maybe if one of his unpublished works comes out or if would have gotten it finished, I think we would have seen him trending toward Max. Passenger and Stella Maris are much more ambitious novels than his previous 5, and if we include the Sunset Limited. So everyone, don't give up, focus on the work, and you find success.